And are we also all set with interpretation? Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you. And thank you to all of our fearless leaders here who are helping us with language. We're all learning as the technology advances and allows us to do more things. So this is great. Thank you all so much for coming. We're really excited to kick off our new monthly webinar series through Elevate with today's presentation. So today's webinar is communication strategies for persons with dementia and their caregivers. And our training, our sort of fearless trainer today is Sharon Napper, who is a nurse and professional trainer with the Alzheimer's Association of Greater Richmond. Sharon has been a trainer for with the Alzheimer's Association for over 7 years and just has a really deep wealth of knowledge about dementia and how it's constantly changing and all of the nuances. So we're really excited to have Sharon here today. We actually got connected with Sharon, I think about two years ago now.
Yes.
She led a workshop for us, a live workshop at the 2023 Home Care Cooperative Conference. We heard really great feedback about that. And then we've been in communication since. And Sharon has been very gracious to share a number of free trainings with us that we've passed on to the network. And now we're excited to have Sharon here presenting directly to you all. So thank you all so much for joining. And Sharon, I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, first of all. And I do truly respect the friendship and the connection that we made over 2 years ago. And I love your passion and what you do for your members. And I love the concept once it was explained to me. And I just want to provide help and connection and knowledge for people that are supporting others, especially in the dementia space, mental health space, chronic disease space, because we need all of that information that we can pick up and glean. And a lot of times, the people that are taking care of others are the first persons that people ask questions from, not always from their providers. Um, so, this conversation kind of helps. I'm going to admit this person because it's in the way. It kind of helps you to understand this is the basis for taking care of anybody. We all want to communicate effectively. Communicating effectively is being able to talk to coworkers, family members, the people that we support and take care of. But we have to know to whom we're speaking and to how we need to speak to them because conversation does change. Slide one. So this will be slide one. I'm on slide two. So this series is called The Empowered Caregiver. And the section we're talking about today is communicating effectively. So we're going to go to slide three. So our learning objectives is explaining how dementia affects communication. Describe how a person-centered approach can help with communication. And person-centered means the focus is on the person you're taking care of, their background, their culture, their history, their wants, their needs, their interests. We're going to talk about strategies to help you communicate well with a person living with dementia. We're going to identify ways to improve communication with family and friends and healthcare professionals. Slide four, which is a placeholder. So, in your mind, I want you to think about what is communication. All of this on this conversation has a different definition of what communication is. But as you're thinking in your mind what communication is, understand everyone does not consider what you're thinking to be communication. Slide five. So, what is communication? It is how we tell people about our wants, our needs. It's how we share our thoughts and feelings and ideas. What makes us happy? What makes us sad? If we're needing water, if we need to go to the bathroom. And it's also a way that we connect with each other. Even the person that you see in the grocery store, at your church, your first thing you say is good afternoon or good morning. That is a connection because then you're waiting on what? A response to your question. So when we think about what is communication, which of the following are the ways that people communicate? Is it talking and listening, attitude and tone of voice? Is it facial expressions and body language? Or is it all of the above? You can share in the chat box if you feel that it is A, talking and listening, or if it's B, attitude and tone, C, facial expressions and body language, or D, all of the above. And we're going to take a quick short look at our chat box and see what's being said. Everybody is saying D, and guess what? That's, I think, slide 5. It is. It's all of the above. Communication comes from our words, our attitudes, even the tone of our voice. We know when someone's mad at us or upset. It also comes from our face and body movements. It includes listening, which is the most important thing than talking. In our society, we have gotten into a habit of listening to respond, but we need to listen fully to what is being said. Person is talking to us. We're not trying to think ahead of, oh, this is going, we're going to talk about, oh, no, you should be attentively just listening, listening. And at the end, you're going to go, okay. So we need to learn how it is important to be quiet and listen. So now when we think about what is communication, how we communicate, how the persons that we interact with on a daily basis, we are interacting differently. Now we want to think about what is dementia and communication. Now let's look at dementia itself. How does it affect communication? Alzheimer's and other dementias cause damage to brain cells. And if I didn't say next, I apologize. Next slide. Alzheimer's, it should be 3 circles if we're not synced. Alzheimer's and other dementias cause damage to brain cells. These changes not only affect memory, thinking and behavior, and communication skills. So not only is it a problem with memory, it's also processes. We have to understand that communications, their changes are caused by the disease, not the person, because sometimes people will take offense and say, they're doing this to make me upset. They're not talking to me because they know I need something from them. She just looks at me when I'm talking to her. But we have to understand in our brain, it's not only responsible for memory, it's responsible for regulating our temperature, our heartbeat, but also taking the information that comes in and making sure that we can respond. If I have slow processing of a question or a statement, then my output, which is my communication in voice, is going to be slower, fewer words, and my sentence structure may not even be proper at all. Next slide. Now, communication changes are often the earliest sign of dementia. Changes vary from person to person, again, person-centered. Everybody's not the same. But we have found commonalities, including difficulty finding the right words, repeating familiar words, phrases, and stories, describing an item when they cannot think of a word for it, such as we go, it's round and it's orange and it's bumpy and it smells good. I might cannot remember the word orange, but I can describe that orange round ball that smells so good when you sniff it, and when you peel it, the spray comes out and sometimes tingles your nose, but I can't tell you the word. Forgetting what they are talking about in the middle of a sentence. We can be talking about going to the library and I want to, and I would stop. I'm not going to be able to remember to tell you, I wanted to check out a book. I wanted to read a magazine. Difficulty organizing words in the way that makes sense. And again, that can be that, well, that stuff, and over there, I need that plate and that fork. It did not make any sense, but I'm trying to convey what I need to you, but that's how it's coming out. And also going back to speaking in their native language. You can mix English and Spanish. You can use proper terminology when you're around others, but then when you're in the comfortability of your home, you may go back to speaking your native language in a mixture. Speaking less often because now I kind of realize people are noticing me that I have an issue. So to not let anybody else know, I'm not going to talk as much. I'm going to just watch the conversation with my family. I'm not going to speak as much when I go out, but using hand gestures more than speaking. They might go phone or drink or show me other than speaking because maybe they cannot remember the proper sentence structure. So we have to remember that watching and keeping up with how the person is talking and common conversations if they have changed. Next slide, please. So, person centered approach to communication. We all know we want it to be person centered because focusing on the person that we're taking care of, the person that we love, the person that we're in contact with makes all of the outcomes better. Next slide. When we're using that person centered approach to communication, a person centered approach means you use what you know about that person and adjust how you care for them and communicate with them based on their unique abilities and preferences. So if I'm a person that does not like going outside because I don't like bugs and bees and flies or gnats, you would not take me outside to sit on the porch because you know that's not what? Something I like. So you want to focus on the things that they like. This approach can help you communicate with the person living with dementia because you at least want to be able to have conversations. Three things about that person. Do they like animals? Yes, they like animals. So we can talk about pets and animals. Do they like fishing? Not so much, so we won't talk about fishing. Do they like cooking? Oh, yes, they love cooking. Do they like desserts or main dishes? So you figure out how to and have a give and take in that conversation based on what the things that they like to do. Next slide, please. So, number one, we always, always, always want to treat them with respect and dignity. You want to use the knowledge of the person's likes, their dislikes, and communication preferences. Maybe sometimes they don't like to speak, so they'll use more hand gestures or they'll write things down. You want to call the person by their preferred name, not honey, not sweetheart, not boo, Mr. Jones, Mr. Rodriguez. You want to make sure that you are showing that respect. Avoid talking about the person as if they're not there, and that includes phone conversations. You do not ever want to talk over, around. You want to look that person in the eye and you want to have communication because if your focus is looking at them, you can read their body language, their facial expressions, if they're happy, if they're sad. And you always do not correct them unless it's a safety issue, because again, that causes you to bump heads. You want to avoid the correction. Maybe you want to casually, controlledly drive them to the correct answer or the correct response. Most important, all of us love to be told what you look good. I like the way you look. Ooh, where'd you find those shoes? We want to be validated, our feelings. So it's important that we validate those with also dementia. That is part of that respect and dignity. Number two, next slide, please. Include the person living with dementia in conversations. We don't want, again, to pretend like they're not there. You want to talk directly to the person. Speak slowly, clearly, using a calm tone of voice. Acknowledge what the person says. You can even go, wow, ooh, really? Help them engage in conversations that are meaningful to them. Have conversations about family and friends in your lives, including things you've done together. And you might even bring in a picture book or a photo album or a tablet with all these wonderful pictures. So as you're talking about the grandson, Joseph, you can see pictures of Little League and soccer, but you also want to know that you can include them in the things that they've been also included with family, events. So, next slide. We also want to be patient. We know everybody does not wake up with a bag full of patience every day. That's unrealistic. But the amount of patience you have at that time, you want to make sure you're giving the person the time to decide what they want to say. We don't ever want to talk for them. We don't want to kind of push them down that conversation. Giving them time to decide, do you want a cup of coffee or would you like a glass of water? And if you already know that this person likes water, then offer the water. Cold water, room temperature. You want to avoid interrupting because, again, when communication starts to become harder and the words are few, I have to have more time to get those words out. You don't want to speak for them. You want to give them choices, no more than two. After two, just like me trying to figure out what my sentence is, you asked me about water and you asked me about coffee, and now there's soda and what kind of soda. I just need it to kind of be a little bit more smoother for me. Water, coffee, and connect in the moment. You can connect with the person you're taking care of, taking them to the bathroom. You can connect with them watching TV, riding in the car. The important thing is have a conversation, talk about something funny, talk about a memory, but do not ever not talk. We as human beings need communication, we need socialization. It is good for our souls to be among other people and communicate. Next slide, please. We want to limit distractions. You want to find a quiet place that has few distractions. Get rid of the extra noise and visual distractions. If you have cats or dogs or kids, grandkids, I've got some of that in my own house. Sometimes you have to find just a quiet place for yourself. You want to get rid of that extra noise or either have a quiet time. You want to be able to have those one on one conversations, but you want to keep those conversations simple. You don't want to talk about last week, this week, and oh, yeah, last night. No, we're going to focus on last night. Did you like the shrimp Alfredo? Did you like that we had sweet tea and not lemonade? Okay, wonderful. Did you sleep well? So you want to keep them very simple. You want to turn off or turn down the sound of the TV. And for all of us that are sometimes attached to our phones, put the phone away. Put it on silent, airplane mode if you can, at least on vibrate. Because generational, this generation, and I'm saying in their teens up above to their 30s, they're okay with having what I call paraverbal communication. Being on your phone and talking to somebody, and being on your phone and talking to somebody. But the generations that we are taking care of, that is disrespectful. How can you be on the phone and you're supposed to be sitting here with me? So we have to be conscious of what is accepted by our generation and things that we do that's not accepted by the older generation. So put away your phone so you can connect, have that eye contact with the person you're taking care of. If they're in a wheelchair, be in the chair with them, beside them, not looking over them. We want to make sure they know, as well as us, that we're communicating, we're talking, we're having a connection. Next slide, please. Now, when you think about nonverbal communication, I want you to think about all those things as a kid when you might have done something wrong and your mom looked at you and was like, "What are you doing?" Or "Come here." Or the famous, they talk between their lips and they're pursed and you don't see any lips move, but you know you're in trouble. Nonverbal communication is all of that. It can be helpful to know how to send and receive messages without using words. We want to be able to use a positive body language, facial expressions. We want to use hand gestures, pointing to an object. For my grandkids, if we're in church, it's like stand here, and I position my hand down so they know to stand beside me. Don't run around the church. You want to make that eye contact. Use gentle physical contact, but also be aware if certain people do not want to be touched. Some people do not want to be hugged, they don't want to be touched. So we have to be respectful of that because that's still their right not to be touched. So make sure if you're touching them or you're hugging them or you're doing a massage or something, you always ask them, is it okay to touch you? Is it okay if I position your shirt for you? Use touch, sight, sound, and taste of other ways to communicate. So you have all these wonderful essential oils that you can use that smell like coffee and baked cookies. You can use sounds if the person really wants to go to the ocean. You can use sounds of an ocean or sounds of a rain. I bet a lot of people have been getting a lot of rain lately, so I'm sure that's not a sound. But some of those environmental sounds, even if the person used to love to go, we talked about this in one of my classes yesterday for activities. If the person loved to go to the casino, you can actually have sounds of the casino slot machines going and have like a little mini carnival in their room with them, even though they're not able, like a little roulette table that maybe they get snacks. But we had some wonderful ideas when we were talking about how do you bring a casino activity into someone that's not able to go to the casino, but that's what they love to do. That was their hobby. How do you still incorporate that in their care? So that's a use of sight and sounds and taste. You can maybe help them or help you to help each other make a batch of cookies or to make their special lemonade that tastes so good. And those are things that you can also use to communicate. You can include family members. Intergenerational communication and connection is very important. And those are some of the things you can do with nonverbal communication. But the more you know about the person, that nonverbal communication becomes much easier. Next slide, please. So we have a little skit and a little question to see how much everybody's been paying attention. Alonso's wife, Alicia, is living with Alzheimer's disease and no longer able to get out of bed on her own. Prior to her diagnosis, she worked at an elementary school as a librarian. Uh, Alicia is no longer able to speak, and Alonso is having a hard time communicating with her. This is making Alonso feel less connected to Alicia. Next slide. What could Alonso do to try to communicate with Alicia and stay connected to her? We want to select the two best tips for success. Now, remember, we talked about connection. It could be touch, it could be verbal, it could be music, it could be sights and sounds. So, number one, would he hold Alicia's hand as he tells her what he did that day? Or number two, put the radio on in Alicia's room? Number three, read one of Alicia's favorite books to her. Four, there is nothing Alonso can do because Alicia can no longer speak. So, what do you think the two best tips for success? Is it one, two, three, or four? Give you a chance. I'm going to look at some of our answers. Okay, good, good. So, the two in the text box already have the very cool answers. So, the answer is, as we stated, it is going to be two excuse me, 1 and 3, because again, touch is a powerful connector. And when we get older, our blood is thinning, it's coming more into our hands. So we're having touch is a good way to connect with someone. So Alonzo should not put the radio in Alicia's room instead of talking to her or assume there's nothing he can do because she can no longer speak. There are still good ways for them to connect and communicate. And I think in our country, and sometimes we have not been told how to converse, how to have a conversation with older adults. And I think it's very important just because somebody's not verbal or somebody's words are few does not mean that we can't still have awesome conversations. We also know that she was a librarian, so reading her favorite book to her would be so much more for her. Even if they didn't like to read, reading the Bible to them. If they believe in a higher power, that is a wonderful thing also. There are also books on tape that they can listen to. Or it could be, again, you record the grandchildren's soccer games. And so you watch this and let the person see the soccer games. There are a lot of ways to communicate and to talk and connect with people that are fewer words or not connecting as well. Good job, Miss Glenda. So we're going to talk about next slide, communicating well with others. Because we're just not talking to our family members, we're also talking to our friends. So with our friends, we want to make sure that, next slide, I'm sorry. Next slide is that we're talking about our feelings, our worries, and our needs. We want to be open and honest because this is where you're going to have those difficult conversations when you need to. You want to stay connected and check in regularly because as you're going through the changes of any of the dementias, you want to know that you have people to support you and to be there for you. I think it's important that you have at least one person, if not more, that you can feel that you can trust to tell how immensely this is making you feel. We don't want them to take it inside. We want to be able to have those difficult conversations with somebody that you trust, your family, your friends. Next slide, please. Now, with healthcare professionals, people such as doctors and nurses, physicians, nurse practitioners, all of those specialty doctors, you want to prepare for those appointments. And by prepare, we're taking blood sugars, we're taking blood pressures, we're taking effect of what time of day it was, who was in the house, what behaviors happened, what day it was when he lost his remote to the TV, how was his behavior then, what was the temperature, all of those things. We have to explain the details because, again, the doctor, the practitioner was not there. So they need to have a clear picture of the total you, not just what is in front of them. And we also want to be able to take notes during that appointment. And if you can't take notes, say, excuse me, can I record what you're saying? So I can get back home. And if I have any more questions, because we all know sitting in a doctor's office sometimes we don't remember right then and there the questions we really want to ask, but we'll get home and be like, ah, I should have asked. But also ask if you can record if you're not able to take good notes or bring some along that can do that. And think about your environment. If you know your doctors ask you to do something that you don't have access to, or you may have difficulty getting to, or you know that that is not possible in your environment, you want to think about that. You want to talk about that and be honest with them. Because if they don't know the total picture of you, they will not be able to support you and your family because that is what is really the purpose of helping yourself to be better. Next slide, please. So at the Alzheimer's Association, we have wonderful resources. Next slide. We have a wonderful 24/7 helpline, 1-800-272-3900. It is available in over 200 languages, TTY, and it is a real live person, which I love that because I don't like chatbots and talking to all of that extra technology. But this person will listen to you. They will help you find resources based on your zip code. They will help you find support groups. If it's like family members calling from Omaha and you're in New Jersey, they will make sure that that information is the same for both of you and access to resources to help the family stay connected. It helps you also on our website, alz.org, to help you find local chapters, support groups. We also have a great partnership with AARP. So sometimes we put on joint presentations, and AARP and Alzheimer's Association has a wealth of things that you can access and pull down PDFs, all of that. Also online, we have care, safety, and driving is a very huge issue. I know for a lot of people, when to stop driving, what's safe. Well, a lot of states and areas have what we call safety rehab or safety courses, and they will see and evaluate how safe that person is to still drive. We also have ALZ Connected, ALZ Navigator. Those are two point and click based systems. When you go onto the website, you can click into it and put in your zip code, and it will bring out if you need a doctor, if you need housing, if you need a lawyer, if you need resources, and it's all based on your zip code. Also, we have educational programs that are online. We also have some that are virtual. We currently do a lot on a basis of Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's for me. I'll make sure that that list is available. We also have some that are coming up starting in August. So I start back up at about the end of August. I give everybody a chance to get back to school, get the kids in school, adjust to the new fall schedule, and then we start again with our fall courses. So those are some of our resources. I want to make sure that if we have any questions, please feel free to ask. I've enjoyed having this conversation, and I hope we have some cool questions.
And everyone can feel free to either, you can put a question in the chat or also just come off mute and share your question live. Maybe while we have people thinking about it, I have a question, Sharon, which is you mentioned about, how one of the kind of ways that communication changes is that people might start describing words versus saying the words. And I was just curious if is that because those functions exist in different parts of the brain, or what
Yes,
is it that
that
causes
is
that?
very much so true. If you, let me see if I can bring up one of those pictures of the brain. Our brain is responsible for so many different things that we take for granted. Our senses bring in all of those wonderful things to us, our eyes, our ears. But we found out what happens is our brain, our frontal temporal part of our brain is responsible for those decision making things. Ooh, should I take a right or to a left? Is it sunny outside? Should I put on a hat or a coat? So, what we have to realize is that our brain does all these things automatically. So, when you don't have access to the processes of, ooh, so it's raining, so I might need an umbrella. So, it's harder for us to with older adults especially, and I apologize, I'm trying to bring up the picture of the brain and what it actually has and does. They can remember a lot of early memories, but the newer things that they received in their mind early on, say college, midlife, some of those things, if they have not been practicing those things, kind of fall away. The one thing I will say that it also comes from if I'm always not talking, and in some cultures, a lot of people that are older, again, because I would say in American culture, we are not always taught to have conversations and how to talk to older adults. So therefore, sometimes people stop talking to them at a certain time in their life. And I think that it's crazy for me because personally, I love older adults, but a lot of times that's what happens with people. they get older. And so the actual word for an orange or the actual word for a basketball or an oven mitt or a kitchen rag or whatever, they'll be, they can do a gesture for it, but they cannot remember the actual name.
Yeah,
Let's see.
thank you so much.
Okay, and I'm going to get the picture of the brain. I just didn't want to think that I was taking too long, but I put that up there.
No, thank you, of course. So one of the questions in the chat, we have one in Spanish, so I'm hoping we can figure out how to get that translated for Sharon. But um, one of the questions is, what are some distraction techniques for sundowners? I've used ice cream in the past, but wondering if there are other recommendations. And that's from Lynn at Vivid Life.
So with your sundowners, first of all, does it happen in the nighttime or in the morning?
We see this most often at night when you're trying to get them to bed.
Okay. Because sundowners can happen in the morning and at night. So I was just asking. So are they doing something before they get to bed or along, I'd say, what time is bedtime?
Let's just say usually around 8 o'clock.
So what I would start doing at probably about 5:30 or 6, I would start pulling down the shades, dimming the lights, changing the music or lowering the TV so it's calming the surroundings. Have you tried that?
Yes, as well as calming music as well.
Okay.
Aromatherapy.
So are they exercising during the day? Are they walking? Are they still ambulatory?
Um, Kind of all of the above, I suppose.
So making sure that they're getting out and getting some of that energy out, maybe playing balloon volleyball, even sitting in the chair. There's Tai Chi, which I can get that link to Katrina and that she can set that out to you. It's actually Tai Chi and yoga in a chair, but it still gets them moving. Um, did this person do anything in particular in the evenings? What type of work did they do?
I'm merely asking just as a general question. I
Oh,
don't have
okay.
a particular patient in
Oh, okay.
mind, but just yeah.
Sometimes when people have sundowners at a particular time, they might have worked an evening shift. They might have gotten kids off of the bus or sent somebody off to work. So their muscle memory, if you will, is still trying to be up and about and around. But other than other than actually looking into something that could just calm them, what about have you tried tea?
Yes, that's been tried in the
Chamomile
past.
tea?
Hmm.
Okay. These are all the things because I'm always looking at holistic methods of calming and redirection before you look at, using other prescribed medications.
Hmm.
Did they ever or were they ever on a any type of sleep aid before they got dementia?
I think in general, clients that I know I've seen in the past have generally been put on sort of anti-anxiety
Mhm.
meds, usually followed, a regimen was to give them the anti-anxiety like Ativan before
Yes,
bedtime or Benadryl, etc. But, again, trying to figure out other ways, other options than to,
yes.
give
So,
them
like I said,
medication.
that I like before the medications, I would try the teas, I would try the changing of the environment, I would try even massage or even some meditation, meditative music, but definitely trying to physically tire out the body so then it will kind of cycle back into that rhythm. And it might take repeated times to do that and working with the person with sundown. And then sometimes, it will just click one day. But all of those things that you are doing and are trying are the things you should be doing to avoid some of that pharmacological attributes. But at the present time, it seems like you're doing everything you can do. I would just still try to focus on maybe some other things that you haven't tried, be it a hand massage, be it the aromatherapy, the hot or cold towels to the back of the neck, or wherever you think this person may be having tension at. Even maybe getting one of the little um, foot tubs that they can get a little bubbly pedicure just to relax their feet. Anything that that will relieve some of that tension and tightness that is making them have this anxiety with the sundowning.
Thank you, Sharon.
No problem.
Sharon,
Yeah.
I wondered too, I'm not familiar with the terminology. Could you just explain what a sundowner means?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I'm
Sun.
reading through the lines, but maybe other people aren't familiar with that term.
So sundowning is sometimes when you have loved ones or clients that are either up early in the morning, and when I say up early in the morning, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and they don't want to go to sleep, or either it's usually late at night when it's time to be in the bed, they don't like to go to sleep. So as our brain also is responsible for cognition, it is also responsible for keeping up with time and what that looks like. And I'm just going to share the picture of the brain now. And if you look at this picture of the brain, you will see that, okay, if you look at this and see, you will see that long-term memory, logic, and reasoning is in that frontal temporal. Okay, so organization and a schedule, comprehension, listening, visual processing, all of your processing speed is found in that temporal lobe, which has as your hippocampus. So you have to understand that keeping up with time is also helped right in here in that parietal brain. So a lot of times it's harder for people to realize the passage of time. And what I wanted to know, so what I always know about music, and that's why I said music as a whole helps the brain. And a lot of times you just have to find what really works and what turns their brain back, because brain listening to music is helping. It's helping people that have the Parkinson's dementia. It helps people that are sometimes nonverbal be able to talk again, because the music affects all these parts of the brain, and it kind of in a way wakes them up. So when you're thinking about the processing speed and the working memory and visual processing, and then they're not keeping up with time with sundowners because they believe they need to be up when it's really time for them to go to sleep. That's their brain not keeping the rhythm of your body, the night, the day. And so some of that is coming from just the brain still falling away from its initial job to do, which is our temperature, all of that stuff. So it's one of those things that a lot of times for family, it's very hard. Some families have to hire sitters just for the nighttime because they need to work. So I can't be up with my family member if I've got to get back up at 7 and they've been up all day, all night.
I'm gonna knock on wood when I say it. All my time with kids, particularly little kids,
Uh-huh. Did you have a question? Ola? Okay. So let's see. So strategy, communication, and so I think Brooke was saying that she's always found it necessary to listen, but sometimes it's difficult to communicate, and she's have to experiment. Is that my good interpretation, Juan? Brooke's conversation, I think she is saying that she's always or tried to listen, but sometimes it's been difficult to communicate and she has to experiment. Is that what she's saying? My very rough Spanish from college.
We have a quiet group today.
That's why I was like, if he could help me with my rough interpretation, then I can answer her question.
Mhm.
Brooke is above Lynn. She was at 3:43 p.m. if you're looking at timestamps.
I think that question looks like it was a translation of the sundowning question. So asking about at
Okay.
12:43. So it looks like it was the same one that was entered earlier. Sorry, I know that
Okay,
people on different
that's
lines. That's why
okay.
they probably haven't responded.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Appreciate
That's what
that.
I thought. Like I said, it was just okay. Okay. I was just making sure I answered everything. Um, but yes, like I said, it's one of those things with communication. It's going to be different for everybody. This presentation is the evidence-based generalizations that we see with communication, and each person can be different because a lot of us like to talk, a lot of us don't like to talk. That doesn't change when we get older. So just because now they have dementia and they don't want to talk, were they talkative before they got dementia? Then if they weren't, that's not going to change. Point in case, my grandfather there were twins, Fletcher and Ernest. Both of them older on, I want to say in their 70s, got dementia, but they had two different types of dementia. My grandfather was the nice, the kind, I want to give you candy, little Debbie cakes. His brother was not a nice person. But honestly, from the stories I've heard in the family, and again, that's culture versus true history, that the twin that was like that was not a nice person. So that did not change when he got dementia. It just kind of got a little bit worse. So you have to add, I'm a spiritual person. So I say, what you are to begin with, your soul, be it, giving and fulfilling, I don't think that really changes. Some people I know that it does. But again, as I tell everybody with dementia, if somebody had to get you up every day and wash you and bathe you and clothe you and feed you, the stuff you take for granted that we can do, and now you can't, that would be hard for me to accept dementia or no dementia because I don't like to be touched. So I'm one of those people. So I'm like, don't, So that's why I try to tell families is that you have to understand just to accept the diagnosis is a lot to process. Yes, Miss Kara.
Thank you. That was quick. Um, I have a pretty specific question because I have a client right now who is very convinced that her home is not her house and that it's not. Um, she's got theories and she really wants to like convince us of it. And I find it pretty easy to sort of like find a way to just redirect the conversation instead of saying no or just like, oh well, my house had a porch swing on it too when I was young, and tell me about that. But I had a very uncomfortable situation with her daughters the other day because she was very much trying to be like, we need to talk. This is what is happening. This is what my client was saying. And then the daughters were very well, one of them in particular is very like, that is not what's happening, and very like, you need to. And so I'm like, my difficulty is should I'm trying to find if there's a place where I should step in to the, I mean, I was part of the conversation, but I was not like in it, I was trying to mind my P's and Q's.
So
So,
has her family been educated about what dementia is and what it's not?
they, I'm not really sure because she's on hospice and they have a social worker and stuff like that.
So maybe,
I was
yeah.
thinking of sort of like having a conversation with her to the side, but also I guess my question's really more like I want to be
What is
making
your
sure
role?
yeah, I don't want to be telling anybody how to do what to do,
Well, if I want to stay out of it, I would probably first if they have a hospice and they have the social worker. I
Sharon,
would
you
use.
just lost. Oh, there you go. Your audio cut out for a minute. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would involve their hospice nurse, their hospice social worker, because that's already an added layer of support for the family. I can send some information about what dementia is also to Katrina to print out any, because all of our handouts come in a PDF. So we can send that, because if she's having paranoia issues, that sounds like either Parkinson's or Lewy body, because a lot of times they will have those hallucinations with that type of dementia. And the thing that you're doing about redirecting and talking about the porch swing and, trying to get her off that track, you're doing perfectly fine. I would just be very careful and document what's going on so that the family members are not trying to get you caught in the middle. So I
Yeah.
would protect yourself.
Yeah, they're not, I mean, they're not trying to get me caught. I was just thinking for the ease of, to ease my clients' uh experience and
I
her
think you're
daughter's
doing that.
experience.
Yeah, I think you're doing that by sitting out
Thank
on
you.
the porch weather and talking. I think you're doing very well with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am realizing the time. So if you think of other questions after,
Yes,
because as Sharon said, that is common, right? As soon as you hang up, you might think of a question. Please don't hesitate to email those. You could either put them in Elevate Community in the forum, or reach out to Brooke or I through direct messaging, or feel free to, email, reply to one of the emails that you got about this event. Thank you, Sharon. I want to, yeah, first of all, thank you, Sharon, for sharing your knowledge and for doing this presentation. Also, thank you to
yes.
our interpreters who
Thank
helped
you
us
guys.
with the language justice so that we could make this available in Spanish as well. And thank you all for attending today. I saw a question about the recording. We will share the recording, and it sounds like Sharon will pass along some follow-up resources and information and links so that you can also do some more digging and share those resources
Yes.
on, with coworkers,
One more
clients.
question or one more
Go
statement.
ahead.
I'm not trying to
Yeah.
cut you off, but
No.
please make sure that you put your first and last name, how you want it on your certificate when you,
Yes.
yes. And so, because what I'm going to do is get the list from Miss Katrina, and then I'm going to go through and do certificates for this training for everybody. So I need the correct spellings. And so I appreciate if you could do that. And if there were anybody else watching with you, put their names on there also, so you can get credit for that. Katrina, you have the Spanish versions of the PDFs. I will send you the English ones, and
Okay.
I'll also send you the PDFs for communications for this one today.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Okay,
much. Yeah,
no
great.
problem.
That's very helpful. I'm glad you brought that up. So yeah, just to flag that our next training, which will be in August, a part 2 to this series with Sharon, is challenging behaviors with persons with dementia, understanding and responding with care. So kind of a continuation, but a slightly different take on this topic, and really understanding, yeah, what do you do in those cases, like the example that was just shared. That's a pretty challenging behavior, right? When somebody's really adamant that they're not in the right house, what do you do in those situations? And the more that you all can bring those specific examples from your lived experiences to, the more rich of a conversation we can have. So, and really get into the details and making sure that you're getting the support that you need. So thank you all so much. I see some names popping through. That's wonderful. And thank you all for attending. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you all again soon.